All right, here we are back again for another episode of On the Bench with Beeks. We're talking number 17 in the Zeitgeist. I am your humble host, Cody Beekman, and with me as always, Mr. Keith Zanders.
Hello, everyone. What's up?
And I'm Mr. Ross Amore.
What is going on?
And then we've got Daniel Beatty.
Hello, everybody.
And today we have a very special / lovely guest, Samantha Hiller. Samantha, say what's up to the fine podcast people out there.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have a real fun interview for you. How's everybody's week been so far?
Sweet, man. It's my Friday, so I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm halfway there.
It's good to be back in the podcast booth.
What about you, Sam? How's it out Chicago way?
Oh, gosh. It's nice. It's hot. It's humid, but things are good out here.
You're lucky. It's dry as hell out here. I'll tell you that right now. Well, enough niceties. Let's get down to it. We've got a jam-packed show today. We've got a lot of NHL news. We've got some Blackhawks logo troubles. Maybe not so much troubles, but... and then, yeah, we've got a huge interview lined up for Sam, so let's get into it with Hockey Day in History. We got the newcomer, Sam. Sam, do you have a Hockey Day in History that you'd like to share with us today?
I do. On this day in 1992, the Wings signed Gordie Howe's son, Mark Howe. He played 3 seasons with him before he retired, so now he's in the Hall of Fame with his father. So...
Nice one.
That happened.
I just got to say, I mean, like the Hows are it's an absolute like hockey dynasty. The fact that they got to play together in Hartford before that was huge as well. I mean, geez Louise, like how many times do you get to actually play with your son?
Did they shorten Mark Howe on the back, or because I know it's Gordie Howe, right?
Yeah, it was just Gordie. I mean, Mark at that point hadn't really done anything. But yeah, it was just Gordie Howe. And I think the only guy to actually have a full name on the back of his jersey.
That's a cool little stat right there.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's keep it going with the second newer-ish edition. Daniel, what do you got for Hockey Day in History?
Okay, boys. So recently, our good hockey player up north, Iggy, Jerome McGinley, into the Hall of Fame. Congrats to him, man.
Woo!
Hope you're listening. Sure you are. And he was drafted in this day in 1995. And, man, did he make an impact right away. So it was a pretty packed draft. There was some good players in there. That's the one where Brian Berard went number 1. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Sorta.
Just for a minute.
I can't remember him very well.
I mean, I must say, I was 5 years old. Remember
Okay.
like it was yesterday.
Dating myself here, I guess. But yeah, what a great player. So close to that cup, but so much good times for Team Canada, and just overall, what a great player. Like, I always love those guys that you can look back and be like, yeah, I respect that guy's career because he was nothing but class the whole time.
And grit. That's one thing I loved about Iggy's career is he had that grit to it, too.
He would drop the gloves, wouldn't he?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, even in his oldest days, I mean, I remember his last year in L.A., he dropped the gloves a couple times, and I mean, the man still could throw bones.
Oh, yeah. He drew blood.
I mean, Iggy, let's hope to God he's listening. But I don't like.
He's that nice a guy. He now is.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, fine, I'll listen to some shitty podcast down in Thornton, Colorado. Who cares? All right, who wants to go next? Rasa, you look like you're ready there, bud.
Well, goaltender Dominic Hasek announced his return to the NHL following a 1-year retirement.
Get out of here, you loser.
Oh, wow, yeah,
I'm
right?
just kidding. He was fucking great.
No, he's always been great. Just flailing around, snow angeling everywhere.
Good luck. I always had this saying for him. I always thought that this would go through his head every time he went out there, just like, kind of like a Geico thing, like get lucky, save a puck. That's just the way I thought of Dominic Hasek. But I mean, the man was a like abnormal freak of nature.
Just a quick sidebar there. They made a MasterCard commercial, back in that ad campaign where it was like, you can buy all this stuff, but this is priceless. And they did one for Dominic Hasek, and the closing line was Slinky for a spine, priceless. And it was
Yeah, I
hell
think
yeah,
I remember
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Keats, what do you got there, bud?
All right, man. July 10th, 1957, Detroit Red Wings obtained goalie Terry Sawchuk from Boston in exchange for Johnny Bucyk.
Big, huge names going down right there.
Those are some legends in
That
the
would-
goalie world.
That would have
yeah.
been on NHL Network 24/7 for the next week, if that was to happen today.
Oh, probably went on in Hockey Night in Canada or something.
Wonder
like
who
that.
got the shittiest deal out of that.
I don't see how either one got fucked on that deal, honestly, because I mean, A, Johnny Bucyk, beauty. B, Terry Sawchuk, beauty. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I mean, that's a hockey kind of trade right there.
Agreed. And they all moved like Dominic Hasek back then.
Right?
Snow angels, like Ross
Flailing
says.
around.
Don't
Yeah.
hit my face.
I'm not
That's all I
worried
got
about
going for me.
Any of you guys watch like some of those like older like games, like, and you watch the goalies?
They're really like the way that they move is just, I feel, and I'm not a goalie, so I can't really speak to it, but I do feel like the movements have definitely changed in some way.
Oh, big time. And
yeah.
always like watching those, I've always thought to myself, I was like, I could have freaking been in the NHL like 30 years ago. Like I do that every day in beer league.
Do the can while you just have a bunch of pads on, just kicking legs and just like lifting. No, like they're very athletic for what it was, but it was just like a totally different style. The butterfly had never,
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd still feel that way if you knew Gordie Howe was out there seeking elbows to your face.
Yeah, right. I mean, at that point, you're like, do I really even want to be in the NHL right now?
But I could. I know I could.
But I could, yeah. All right, so for my hockey day in history, I have July 8th, 1995. In their second trade during the 1995 NHL draft, the Vancouver Canucks obtained Mike Ridley from Toronto in exchange for Sergio Momesso. Earlier in the day, the Canucks obtained Alexander McGillney from Buffalo. I love this because, well, I mean, I love Alex McGillney, and I mean that's a huge acquisition right there.
Oh yeah, he did so much for that Sabres franchise when he was there.
I mean, the Vancouver Canucks were lucky to have him. The Toronto Maple Leafs were lucky to have him. I remember in the 2001 Stanley Cups, I was so worried because McGillney was on that New Jersey Devils team, and luckily the Avs packed ass defense only cut them down to one goal in that series.
Right.
So that's just that just shows how stacked that Avs D line was that year. To make sure Alex McGillney only scored one goal in the playoffs, give me a break.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my hockey day in history.
Awesome, man.
All right, check it out. So check this out. We've got a lot of news coming out of the NHL. Let's talk CBA agreement first. As some of you may know, before the COVID shutdown, the NHL and NHLPA had actually come to an initial CBA agreement, and then this COVID shutdown started. So they have agreed upon a 4 more year extension with all of these return to play stipulations and everything added in. So what do you guys think? What do you think we're going to be looking at something more coming, or what?
I mean, from what I've also heard too, Cody, with that because that's a huge deal, is that they're also letting, like, the players play the Olympics and stuff this year as well, professional-wise, and that's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah. Dan, how do you feel about that? I know you're all excited about
man.
that.
So yeah, so they agreed in principle that it would be for 2022 and 2026,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I consider hockey, when I'm like, show me the greatest hockey on the planet, I consider that to be with, the best countries in the world putting out their best products possible, not based on business decisions as much. So all respect to the World Cup. That was a great tournament, but heck yeah, I'm excited about those guys going back there. And I know players that have been passionate in the past, like Ovechkin being like, I just want this so badly. I mean, he's an Olympian already, and from that family, but it's good to see other countries so wanting this as well. And I'm so excited. I'm really, really happy about that. Yeah.
It'll definitely kind of, add a little bit to the whole entire ordeal with the Olympics as well. And I mean, it's even great that everybody else has agreed for just across the board, just for player safety at this point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Hopefully things get better and better as time goes on, and because obviously that's another concern, is like it's approved, whatnot, but we need to get there still, and hopefully that happens.
Hopefully it's just small steps that lead into like great things.
Yeah, no,
'cause
and
I'm missing hockey.
No, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I mean, that's still a little ways, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot that happens between now and then, and they'll figure it out, and it'll be awesome.
Sam, how do you feel about the pro players going back to the Olympics?
I think it's great. I think that they kind of got left out of the last Olympics and couldn't come to an agreement with that, and they weren't going to be able to use that footage to promote the NHL or the players, and that was kind of a contingency. So I think that by letting them participate, it draws so much more attention to the game, and we're still really just trying to grow. I think it gives great exposure to these players, but also to the game. So for them to say that they're cleared to do that is great. I mean, we have to look at the flip side too, which these really great NHL players are also taking the spots of some guys who might just want the opportunity to perform on that kind of stage. And so in that way, I'm a little bit, I'm like, there's obviously a double-edged sword here, because we want to see promotion of the NHL and these players, and we want to see that level of play, but we also want, opportunities for guys who might not have as much of a spotlight. But I mean, it definitely has its benefits, and I think it'll be good for the game overall.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Josh, well put.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the complaints that I do hear about the pros actually going to the Olympics is that the Olympics isn't supposed to be filled with professionals. This has always been an amateur tournament,
Well, and it gotta jump in on that. That is my most favorite part about that. Obviously, me being born in Latvia and stuff, that's why I love so much the Olympics and the World Championships, because I get to watch not only my native team where I was born, but also some of these players that I don't get to see on TV every day, like Ovechkins and all that. I get to see those other guys, and it's always fun. And there's a couple guys actually now that used to be on my team when I played in Latvia. I play for a national team now as well, so that's been always like, oh my god, I used to skate with this guy, and that's kind of a cool side to it as well. So
agreed. I gotta say, I mean, it will make the Olympics a little more competitive, but I mean, yeah, just like Sam said, there's definitely a double-edged sword to it, but I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That's 100%.
All right, to move on, we are what's today, boys? July 8th.
yes, sir.
All day.
Yep.
All day.
all day until midnight.
So we have literally
wrong.
5 days until the training camps for the NHLs are supposed to open up.
So yeah, so what? I kind of listened up to it. So what their plan right now is on the 13th, they're starting like the team camp,
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
by the 26th they should be up in their hubs.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by the end of July, first week of August, we should be seeing some playoff hockey, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They're saying that right at the end of July, they'll basically be getting to their hub cities from what I understand, and we can get to that now or later. Depends, but it should be Toronto and
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Yeah.
Scotiabank Center, and it's something.
So Rogers
Rogers Arena.
something. I think everyone in Canada is either
I thought
Rogers, or
Rogers
Bell
was.
something at this point.
I
It's-
thought
it's
Rogers
Rogers.
was Vancouver.
Oh,
See, that's what I
they-
mean.
they
There's
have-
like a Rogers Center, Rogers
Yeah.
Arena.
Yeah.
And there's
Rogers
like,
everything.
Rogers brought to you by Rogers, probably.
There's Rogers coffee, Rogers donuts.
Well, let's just make
No,
it
that's Tim
simple.
Hortons, man.
Let's make it
They'll
simple.
take it over.
Half goes to Edmonton, half goes to Toronto.
Yeah, well, that's where it's
Pretty
going
much
to
what
be.
they're saying, right?
And yeah, so
And then Edmonton would get the finals, right?
yes, Edmonton's going to get the finals as it stands right now.
I hope it switches to Toronto and Boston wins the cup.
Oh,
I
God.
don't actually want that, but it would just be like, how does it get worse for Toronto seeing playoff hockey after the first round? Oh, because your team's out and Boston ends up winning the cup in your city.
Oh my God.
That would be
That would be that would be the sugar
Oh
on
my
top.
God,
that'd
right?
be like an Alanis Morissette moment almost.
I also wonder how the guys are
How?
feeling like. Oh,
Hold on, I
ironic.
wanna-
Oh, ironic.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, and
Sorry.
she's Canadian. so
Sorry.
that would be-
I'm not an Alanis listener. I'm sorry. I
One
just
of her most famous songs. Come on, Cody.
hey, bud. I'm not Canadian, and I was born in 1990. I was
You need to
fucking
get with
10.
the times, bud.
It's just
Well, hey Sam,
the
what's
past times.
Sam? What's your
Yes.
thoughts on it?
Well, they were talking about having these secure zones, right? So they were just gonna play out of those two locations. That's my understanding of it, anyways. You guys,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
is that
what's gonna happen is that they will be confined to like an area where their lodgings and dining situations will all be right there. How do you think that's gonna go over? How do you feel about that? I mean, think about it as like a player, like you have like a football field's worth of like space to go walk around.
Yeah, well, they did talk about that, and they're very strict about it. So when you're in your little bubble, you literally stay there, and you will be fined if they catch you. Like outside of it, like it's not gonna be just like a player. Like they will find the team, and you can get some pretty deep trouble.
And even with just stepping out, from what I understand, Keats, not to interrupt you, from your actual room.
Right.
Like, you have to stay, like, I hate using the word quarantine, but yeah, you have to basically stay in your room from the other players and all that.
And I mean, if I'd say it's probably going to be tough. I would say like the first like couple weeks is probably going to be hard on those guys because obviously they did announce that no families allowed.
Nope.
They can only
Right.
family can only be there like basically Stanley Cup champ like when they're the
Yeah,
finals.
well, yes, exactly. Yep.
which
Does-
is so hard. Like, can you imagine being a family member and being like, "I'd love to see you play in the playoffs, but can't even go." to that."
Plus, like every year when the team gets eliminated, they pan to the person that's like, this could be their last game. And it's like,
Right.
well, now that family doesn't get to see that player potentially be playing in their last game. That kind of sucks
Exactly.
But
too.
I mean, for the sake of like getting to move forward for everybody, though, like I hope the players recognize that it's worth the, inconvenience of having to sort of quarantine themselves so that we can like get the game back on and like just be, somewhat back to normal with being able to view it at least. And For them, I'm sure they just want to play. Like I'm pretty sure they would do anything just to play.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like out of pretty much any of the pro sports, I think hockey players would be the most apt to make those gigantic sacrifices just to have the chance to lift the cup, and just to
Right.
play again. Really, I mean, hell, man, I'd give both my useless legs to go and play hockey again.
Right. And
win a cup.
Which is kind of like a paradox because I mean, if I don't have any legs, how can I go play sled hockey, bitch?
what
Loophole.
one thing
There's
that
some great sled stuff coming around in Colorado.
right.
Oh, absolutely.
Here. I do think it's kind of like interesting though how the players have been reacting to the news over time, because as a fan I'm like, okay, well, it switched hub cities, like no big deal. But I wonder if some guys are like, oh wait, so I'm not going to be at the MGM Grand and I'm not going to have an unlimited shrimp boat. and
Right.
instead I'm going to be at the Motel 8 in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like, damn. All right. Well, I still want the
There's
cup,
a
but
reason
damn.
Vegas isn't a hub city, okay?
Yeah, no, I and that's my point is we can look at it from a lot of different angles as to why these two cities were chosen, but I'm just looking back over these whole last few weeks of them being very accommodating and willing to get the season back on track. And part of it, I'm sure, is like, but guys, don't worry, vote for this because we're going to be in Vegas. It's going to be kind of sweet. Like, we can, and now it's Edmonton. It's like, oh,
fuck we
and-
want to.
and again, Aginla, I hope you're listening in Edmonton. I'm not bashing your city that way at all.
Well, hey,
I'm
be-
just-
Well,
to
he
be
was
fair.
Calgary, so
To be fair, that
To
the
be
city
fair.
and first of all, that arena is amazing. Second of all, that bubble they're building doesn't look like crap. It looks amazing. Like if you're gonna have one, do it right.
oh yeah.
But one thing also that they actually did offer to players was, and I don't know if the deadline's over now or not, but players were able to opt out of these playoffs without any sort of penalty.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I
It
know
was-
there was like a deadline. I don't know exactly what that day was. Maybe it's still up and people can be like, nope, no thanks.
Yeah, it was like the what was it, Olympics in Brazil. People could opt out with like how terrible, like I forget what was going on at that time with all the mosquitoes and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in a way that it's actually pretty cool for NHL to do that because you don't know some of these players' situations at home and stuff. Maybe it's not a good it's not a good idea, or
I'm sure there's some families. I know there's some families. I don't know if it's in hockey, but I've been reading sports news that are opting out because their family situation is like, my daughter is high risk, for example. And
Yeah.
it's like, I got to make this a family decision, and it's like,
And then speaking of high risk, so there's that whole other side now too.
Yeah, here comes a news storyline.
yeah.
So also with now, okay, yeah, we're gonna do these playoffs and such, but now if you happen to be a high risk player, there's a chance that you get evaluated or whatnot, and you might not be able to play. That's been going around now too, and there's already a couple players that they were talking about could fall into that.
Capo Caco has type
Yep.
1 diabetes. So does Max
Yep.
Domi. He's got type 1 diabetes as well, so he might.
To what extent? To what extent can they enforce that though? Because ultimately, I feel it should be a player's decision. Like, I know I'm at risk. I know I have this this health issue, but that still doesn't make me not want to play. So like, can they actually enforce that, or do these players, they have to, just pick and choose if they want to?
Well, and that's kind of how I looked at it as well. Was I guess you can get some sort of a physical evaluation of some sort to see if they're fit for it or not. I'm sure they already done that to begin with. But yeah, the way I look at it is just maybe sign some sort of waiver. Like, hey,
Right.
like if anything happens to me, the NHL or like the New York Rangers
Yeah.
is not liable.
Liable? No,
And keep it at that, and that's it.
no. And I was about
Right,
to
because
bring that up.
Yeah,
I
it's-
really think it is the player's decision. I think it should be their choice, to acknowledge, some people don't want to live in the bubble. Some people are okay taking certain risks despite their health health risks and things.
Yes. Yeah.
And, and one thing, and I'm gonna be going crazy here too, but it's like, since when diabetes became such a huge COVID type of risk? Because there's always was people like asthma and things like that. Like, but NHL started throwing out this whole diabetes thing, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, where's that coming from? I mean, I never heard
True.
anything about that.
I
Could
know.
be like the medicine that
I
they're
think
taking,
looking at
like
what the
inhibits their immune system and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just throwing that
It's
out
a-
there.
it's what they call a comorbidity.
Yeah,
So if
you're a
it
medic,
just
Sam. Tell us.
That's all it is they look at certain things, diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever, and they say this is a comorbidity, so it makes you more likely to get to contract this virus and then not be able to fight it. But so that's all that classification is. But I still think that there are players out there who will run that risk because they love the game so much and they just want to play, and they'll do it anyways. So,
Hey man, I'd fucking die on the ice if I could.
right?
Like that'd be the way to go, is to die on the ice.
It would be. That's doing something you love.
Oh, for sure. Comorbidity, gentlemen. I think we just learned something new today.
A new word.
All that medic school knowledge kicking in.
Well,
Coming in clutch right now.
oh yeah, for real. So we've gotten the NHL's gone so far as to even start putting out TV schedules as well.
Yep.
And they're
Bold.
doing a great job at it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got 3 games going on in each hub city, and literally, if you catch them all, that's 15 hours of hockey
A day.
a day.
Wow.
Just think about that and just salivate for a quick second.
I wonder how many people are gonna call in sick once this happens. Like, oh, I think I might have got the
I
COVID.
think I got the COVID.
All right, 2 weeks at home.
You
I don't
already-
know if it's still the case, but the most called in sick day that's not like around is the day after the Super Bowl. And it's like maybe just because it's been away so long, and then it's like 0 to 15 hours real quick. It's like, okay, you know what? This is my moment.
Well, I was gonna say Keats probably caught me on my shit with that. I'm gonna be calling out and just saying that I've got COVID. I'm just kidding.
Hey,
I'm
bud.
just kidding.
All you gotta do is be like, hey, I got a sore throat, upset stomach, I've been
I
having
can't-
this dry cough.
I can't taste things.
I've got the
I'm
comorbidity.
pooping.
I got
I'm pooping.
I got a fever.
Fever?
That's it, dude. They're gonna make you stay home for 2 weeks, and then you're gonna go test at the Pepsi Center, and you're like, oh, he's good, and that's that. With these, all the COVID rules and such. One thing, let's talk about St. Louis. Those guys are having some hard time with these COVID cases right now.
Yeah, last week they had to shut down their entire practice because so many people tested positive.
It was like, was it 5, or did that number go up?
Last time I saw, there were 6 confirmed cases in St. Louis.
So it was 5 players and a coach, correct?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, how does now for a team like St. Louis, how does that affect them between what the NHL's trying to do? Obviously, all these. If I were to guess, they're probably all asymptomatic.
Yeah, I would assume in some ways.
But also, regardless of the situation, they're still gonna have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So is this one of those, like, sorry guys, we're just gonna have to pull someone from the AHL, and when you're ready, if we're still playing, you can hop in?
Yeah, I think their expanded roster is going to have to step up and play until those guys are the ones who tested positive are either cleared to play or, they just won't make it.
Yep, and that's from what I've read. Like a couple of Eagles players have been cleared to come and step up in the position.
Yeah.
In case somebody has the COVID or gets hurt, like they have an extended roster to ascend to a point, basically.
You know, and it's still like from last episode we talked about it a little bit, but I'm still like, what if like your first line just gets fucking wiped out in the middle of these playoffs?
In
You're
the
screwed.
yeah, well, in the true sense of it, I mean, last time we talked about it, I mean, I thought about it for this last week, and I think at this point, yeah, I mean, seeing as how the NHL is still moving forward with all the plans, I think if a bunch of your guys go down, then so be it. You got the extended roster there for a reason, and those guys are just gonna have to step up.
And then what was I read a number somewhere with 30 up to 30 players they can
Yeah,
pull
they
up?
are
Something like that?
extending the roster to about 50
Oh,
players.
okay,
Yeah.
way more. Okay. All right. Well, good luck, St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean,
At
'Cause-
least you know what? Because they're not supposed to start their playoff kind of preliminary stuff until August, right? So if they get it out of the way now, they're gonna maybe be healthy by August and
Hopefully.
be ready to go.
True.
Yep.
No.
yeah,
Good
as
point.
long as they test negative for it after the whole, I mean, they get over it as long as it doesn't go forever.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna have to take a look at that. I mean, especially when we get closer to starting, and even while they're playing, if God or Thor or Odin or fucking
Odin.
whoever's up there that's
The
doing
hockey
these-
gods.
yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
It's Zeus. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
I
Thank
can
God.
get on board.
I guess
with
he's
that
a
one.
Lightning fan, right?
No, that's just my own.
Clearly, he isn't because
No,
I mean,
he wouldn't have let that happen last year.
no, he's just building up the anticipation, really. So, I mean, I think that's about it that came out about the NHL. I mean, there's obviously there's been a few more cases after some more testings in the NHL. So I think the count is up to I think what I saw 33 players now
Yeah.
that have it. But I mean,
Yeah, man.
still out of the ever growing players that are coming in to training camp and stuff. I mean, that's still not that bad.
It isn't, no. But it's just, man, it like I said, like I mentioned last time, like it's still a scary, kind of a scary thing. Because these numbers, they're not going down; they are going up.
Right.
So hopefully, like plateaus somewhere, and we don't have to worry about this. So
Especially if
The good news is that most of these players are healthy. They train hard. They take care of themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things for them, too. I mean, we worry about their families and stuff, but ultimately, like, the players they're healthy individuals for the most part. So that makes me a little less worried for how they're gonna react to this virus. It sets them up for success with it, you would think anyways.
yeah, for sure.
It makes them strong like bull.
right.
I think the only thing to add to that consideration for some of these players is that they can beat it, but it's hard to know what any long-term effects of having it could play on your overall system long-term. And I wonder if any of those players are considering, like, yeah, I beat it and I can come back, but I kind of have now like a VO2 max of 80% what I used to, and so that's going to affect my conditioning moving forward or something like that. I wonder if anyone's kind of thinking along those lines, because there's also not a lot of data that knows what long-term effects are, because we haven't had it
Right.
for a long time.
Which, yeah, I mean, in the end, could definitely be a huge determining factor if you do if players start to opt out.
However, it's not like players are oblivious to the fact that there might be long-term repercussions from concussions, and
Yeah.
other things
yeah.
that are already in the league. So
Yep.
it's not like this is a new situation in that regard.
No,
either.
well, I was gonna say that they'll just basically just retrain themselves, just to, deal with it. Basically, they're hockey players. They're resilient. That's what it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, it honestly, right? Time will tell. Let's see what happens in the next couple weeks, and we'll go from there. That's all we can do as fans, players. Everyone's just kind of going with the flow at this point
Yeah.
Yeah.
because no one knows like what's gonna happen or
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate, but we're in a situation like that, and there's nothing you can do.
Hands up in the air. So moving on, we've I think everybody who's been in and out of the news lately, there's been a huge call for a lot of these Native American based hockey, football, baseball teams to change their name. I mean, obviously, the Washington Redskins have had an extreme amount of pressure, and a lot of people are calling for name changes, and obviously the Chicago Blackhawks are one of them, and they just recently released a statement in which I'm just gonna read for you now, and I want to gauge your guys' kind of reaction to it. So the press release is as follows: the Chicago oh my god. That's verbatim of what they wrote, okay? No. All right. So the Chicago Blackhawks name and logo symbolizes an important and historic person, Chief Blackhawk of the Illinois Sac and Fox Nation, whose leadership and life has inspired generations of Native Americans, veterans, and the public. We celebrate Blackhawks' legacy by offering ongoing reverent examples of Native American culture, traditions, and contributions, providing a platform for genuine popularity, for genuine dialogue with local and Native American groups. As the team's popularity grew over the past decade, so did the platform and our work with these important organizations. We recognize there is a fine line between respect and disrespect, and we commend other teams for their willingness to engage in that conversation. Moving forward, we are committed to raising the bar even higher to expand awareness of Blackhawk and the important contribution of all Native American people. We will continue to serve as stewards to our name and identity, and will do so with a commitment to evolve. What y'all think?
I honestly loved it. Like, it shows like the heritage of that area and what they stood for, and yeah, even like my buddy Vivan, who is Navajo 100%, just loves what the Blackhawks, the Sioux, the Fighting Sioux, like, the Redskins, because that was actually named after a bunch of tribes that were like back in the day. Like, they were just like, yes, they fought for their rights and everything like that.
See, I thought the Redskins was actually a derogatory name that
So
the
did
white
I.
people, like white, pilgrims and stuff actually gave to natives.
No, like, there was 3 tribes that came together, and they said that it was all right to call them that in Washington. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Wow.
I was not aware of that.
Sam, I'm curious. Like, you're in Chicago, so maybe you heard from other friends today, and also, what's your opinion on what's going on?
I honestly haven't heard anybody say boo or yay about it. I think personally, it can be a good way to contribute to the people who were here before us, and these people, these tribes are very they're very special, and I think that we haven't lost sight of that. I think that we don't mean to put names to teams that are in any way trying to be derogatory or hurtful. If they were to speak up about it, I'm sure we would address it. But it depends on them. Like, I think it's up to them how they take it. And if they were to have an issue, it would be right of us to, address their concerns as such. But I'm not sure how, I'm not sure how they take it. I haven't been on their land. I haven't been, talking to them actively. So it's hard for me to speak on it because I never even, to be honest, it never even phased me. Like, it's something I never thought about, and it's not because I don't care. I wasn't aware of that being an issue.
Well, I'm with you, Sam. That's the thing too. It's like I was never aware of an issue as well. Obviously, this whole situation is becoming a thing because of
The PC people.
exactly the Black Lives
just PC
Matter
culture.
Black Lives Matter movement, everything that's going on right now in the world, and it's I mean, and I don't know if I'm a dick asking this, but do we like, has there been like a Native American, anything that's been like, yeah, this is super racist?
Oh no, they've been.
Well, that's see, yeah.
But it's also depends. Like, there's so much like gray area with that.
It's
And you don't know who.
That's what I said.
We can get into semantics.
No, exactly.
But,
This in this day and age, this is a super sensitive subject, and unfortunately, like you said, Ross, like there's no need of getting into like super deep into it or anything, because
Because
we all understand
there's certain Native Americans that don't mind it at all, and there's certain that just take complete offense to it. And the ones that take honor in that, and like that we actually, because all teams are fighting to get a Stanley Cup, to be a playoff like contender and all that. Like, I mean, that's how I see it. It's honoring that, the fight in the team, the fight and like as a coerce like unit.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if I could throw my opinion in here quickly, I think it's good to see the Blackhawks make a statement because it shows that they're aware enough of what's going on that they need to remind people of how their name was formulated.
yep.
I think it's also important that you remember that even if your name goes through all of the filtering and talking to all the people, and they deem that it is okay, then there's a certain responsibility to uphold the name to represent things in an accurate way. And there's certain terms that people would think as derogatory. Like, I'm interested to know more about this Redskins thing because I thought that was
Likewise.
more derogatory than generalistic. And
Oh, no.
my example back to hockey would be you have the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks is kind of a term that you refer to Canadians as.
That's
you
a
have
Canuck or
the New
whatever,
York
yeah.
Yankees. Yanks are Americans to a certain extent. You have the Atlanta Braves or the Kansas City Chiefs. These are more generalistic names that are not considered, I guess, derogatory. But then within that, it's like, okay, so the Atlanta Braves have the War Chop. We should probably look at that to see if that's something that still represents this in a general way and isn't derogatory. So after you get past the name, it's
Right.
also about making sure you're not representing things inaccurately
Or-
or making your own judgment calls about what is. And so the only thing I'll add to this would be like, okay, Chicago Blackhawks, you've done a good job of making your statement heard. So when your mascot, Hawk, is in the stadium, is he well represented? Is what he's doing in the stadium like what you want associated with that kind of name? And so look at those kinds of things because that's where it can start a reality that you are now behaving that will associate back to that name and then appropriate stereotypes that are incorrect.
And Daniel, I could not agree with you more. I mean, what are they doing to, support the local native, Sac and Fox tribes,
Oh yeah.
that are still around? And what are they do? Are Are they holding, like native heritage nights? Are they, maybe doing some sort of, anything, anything that makes them talk the talk and also walk the walk? That's their biggest thing right now. Is if they're, and I think Keats and we had talked about this right before the episode started. Is that talk is cheap. What you really got to do now is like if this isn't just bullshit, if this isn't just bullshit to cost you less money and millions of dollars of logo rebranding and all that, well then good. I really hope it's not bullshit, but I mean sometimes I can be a little naive.
And if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna call everybody out on this. That's chicken shit. I'm serious.
Of course,
that's
I mean
150% chicken shit.
But
claim
we're
that.
it's unfortunate, man. But right now we're just in that time of day. Where
obviously, we're just generalizing right now at this point.
But no, Cody, I 100% agree with you too. Yeah, if they haven't already done anything like that, well, they better do it now after the statement that they just released to the world.
It's a damn good time to do it for sure.
Well, and that's one thing I was going to get to, like, minus the Cleveland Indians, but the Fighting Sioux and all those, like, team names that were named after actual tribes and stuff. It was because that was the warrior, like, that would be like sending out, like, the Navy SEAL and shit like that.
Well, I mean,
back in the day, that was their warriors. Those were the best of their best. That's what represented the tribe.
I can respect
absolutely.
that. I don't want to see the Chicago Blackhawks be like, yeah, this is authentic, and then they do some kind of war cry that isn't.
Oh yeah,
and then all of a sudden it's wrong. That's
the concern that Cody and I actually we talked about off air before you guys got here. Same sort of thing, because man, if that actually is any little bit of truth to that, someone's gonna find that out within first few couple months, man, and holy crap, they're gonna be in some shit.
I don't know. I mean, Sam, back me up on this, but I lived in Chicago a few years. We're kind of not ignorant of what happened in that city. I mean, Chicago's flag's got 4 red stars on it, and 2 of them are about world fairs and stuff, but one's about Fort Dearborn, where that got burned down in the War of 1812, and the other's about the Chicago Fire, which kind of is like, this is our history, but we rebuild. And I just don't get the sense that they'd make a statement like that without having the proof to back it up. But also, like, I feel like they're a good example of an organization within sport that can, like, get it right, because they've also been doing it historically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty quick to, like, address things. And them putting that statement out there, they're trying to be aware. They're trying to be conscientious of everybody, and how, especially in a time like this, they want people to know that, like, we support you, whichever way. If you respect this and you agree with it, we will support you. If you don't agree with it, we'll also support you. I think it's just trying to make it's kind of a city that, like, backs the people. So whatever the people really want, I think the city will back. And so I do think that we will do our best to address everybody's concerns. And I appreciate them at least putting it out there, because it shows they're being conscientious of the situation.
Yeah. What I really enjoyed was the line, we understand that there is a fine line between respect and disrespect. I think that was really a big thing for me, is because, I mean, some of these team names were made back in, different times.
Right.
Times where, forward thinking wasn't so forward, it was more backward. So I think they really did actually take a step back and made a pretty fair assumption about, like, about the logo and the name. And going back to what Daniel said about, like, what's the mascot doing during these games and stuff, I have never seen them even do, like, anything close to, like a Native American stereotype type thing.
No, they just
And-
want the crowd riled up.
I mean, yeah, they because they've always got the during the national anthem, they're just going nuts. And I mean, don't quote me on all that because the only Chicago Blackhawks games I've really seen a lot of is playoff games or when the Avs.
The
or the
Madhouse on
Bruins-
Madison is
yeah.
a real thing, man.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, it's awesome.
I need to go.
It's great.
Speaking of which, Sam, have you been to any Blackhawks games since?
Yes, I've been to a couple of them.
Take me
And-
with you.
They honestly, so the national anthem at Blackhawks games, it's like a big thing. Like you do not want to miss the anthem. The gentleman, and his name escapes me right now, but the gentleman that performs this anthem is just like a historical icon. I feel like.
Oh, he's nuts, man. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets people going, and like when you're standing there, you just have like goosebumps, and you're like, "This is the coolest anthem I've ever heard." And it's quite an experience. I mean, they usually have a packed house, lots of people. I think honestly, out of all the sections I've been in, out of the few games I've been to, I love the nosebleeds. Like, I just think that the people in the nosebleeds are so excited that they even like got tickets to show up, that they're just so excited about it. And,
Hey,
it's
you're
a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But yeah, it's really a great energy, and I think as far as like the team itself and being the Blackhawks, they have a lot of pride. I'm not from here. So I didn't jump on the bandwagon. I'm just a straight up Avalanche fan forever. But like
Whoop whoop.
moving
Don't.
out here, I was like, wow, you guys have a ton of pride. Like they're just very proud of their team. They're proud of their jerseys that they wear and stuff. So I think that the people really are just crazy about their team here. So
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, original six team. That's how fans should be. I can't even imagine being a fan of like an actual original 16. I'm a Boston Bruins fan, but I'm not,
oh, yeah.
I'm not like, I'm fucking solely from Worcester, Mass. I fucking love the Bruins, but blue and browning, fucking A.
I parked the car in Harvard Yard, and then I had to take the orange line down to the TD Center. Right
Ever
now.
since I was fucking born black and gold, but I wasn't
I love Boston.
Believe
well,
it.
absolutely, but I wasn't born in like a town with an original six hockey team. I obviously the Avs story and all that. So it's I kind of feel like you got like those hockey fans that live in a city where they have a truly storied past is kind of just a little more special than just being a well, I mean every hockey fan is special, but I mean there's that extra spice on every original six hockey fan.
Well,
Right. Being a part of the
Go ahead.
original six is like such a special thing.
because I mean, I was born in Toronto and then lived in Chicago, so I've had two. And the thing is, like everyone our age will be like, oh, because my grandfather was it. Like it's generational.
Yeah.
So it's like you're born into it.
Oh, totally.
Versus like, oh, this team moved, but I had a choice of sports franchises, and no, you had no choice. In those old ones. So yeah, the passion is there, the pride is there, and it's Jim Cornelison, for the record, that guy who sings the anthems, who's dope.
And that makes it extra special too,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it ties into your family and everything.
Yep.
Going back generations.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, the one thing I like to say about all hockey fans is that it is a true family. But yeah, when it goes just as deep as not only a hockey based family, but like your actual family, it's special.
Generational talent and just keeping
Well,
at it.
just generational love. Like
Right.
it's just Like, my great-great-granddad went to the Forum. Like, oh, yeah, my great-great-granddad was probably somewhere in fucking Ohio eventually.
I know
some
there's
point.
a lot of people listening in Toronto, though, that
Oh,
want
yeah.
to have a cup experience with their parents. You know?
Oh,
yeah.
how
had it
special
in
would that be?
67 or whatever,
Dude,
and they're waiting.
yeah,
They're
no,
like,
you're
I
right.
want you. Like that's a difference of that's special for Toronto, but also like you know, the Kings will win a Stanley Cup, and it's like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good. That's cool.
Like, check out our parade; it's pretty awesome. We have the Lakers as well.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Instead of us, because obviously basketball's better, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like when Boston took home the cup the last time, that was something so much more special than both the times that LA took it home.
That was huge.
I mean, that was gigantic. Well, I'm sure. So you guys have got to see Daniel's face right now. By trade, he's a Canuck fan, and as soon as I said that, he was like, "Oh, I fucking hate you, bud.
2 finals.
I fucking hate you."
2 finals, 2 riots.
Oh, dude, come on! Don't rub it in. Holy shit! He's already
I'm
got the
looking at
look
the
of a
door right
dejected
now.
man. He's already got the look of a dejected man. You don't need to push it in anymore.
I'm not pushing it. I'm nudging it.
Even so,
Boston, just get out of the way and let Toronto and Vancouver win their Stanley Cups, okay? That's all I want to say.
Poor Toronto.
well, let's move on. Let's move on. I think we're starting to hurt people's feelings here. So Samantha Hiller, we want to talk to you about your journey, your life in hockey, and we just we love what you've done in hockey, and for people who don't know, we're gonna get real into it right about now. So are you ready?
I guess so.
All right. I think Ross is gonna start off the line of questioning here.
Well, I mean, where did you kind of get started off with, like, your background in hockey? What got you into it, and what kind of pushed you towards that kind of aspect?
So I started playing when I was about 8, a little bit late to the game, but my mom taught me how to skate. And so for my 7th birthday, I remember my mom taking me to have like an ice skating party. And I just remember skating and being like, this is the best thing ever. And I told her I want to play hockey. And she's like, well, you got to learn to skate first. And so she taught me progressively over the year, like how to skate, at least the basics, so that when I went in to play, I would be able to skate at least.
You would have the know-how at least.
Right, and I'm thankful for that, because I feel like sometimes people get thrown into the game and they don't know how to skate, and then it's like, oh my gosh, please don't fall, please don't crash. Like,
Right.
it's a worry for them. But yeah, so I kind of started there. I went and played a lot of I played for the Boulder Bison for a while in my youth days, and I didn't have a super impressive playing career. I played up through high school. I played for Monarch and Boulder High School and everything.
Oh, get out of town. Go away.
Monarch was like the back-to-back champions.
Yeah. They were like...
Like every other year, they brought the cup home.
I want
Fly
to
like a bee, sting like a butterfly. Is that?
one of those 3.
I want to
I'm
ask
kidding.
you a question, Sam. What years did you play for Monarch? Because I played for Legacy and I played Monarch a lot.
My man.
So we had a combined. So I played for the boys team for Boulder High, but I didn't play for. I played for the girls team for Monarch, but I was there from 2008 till maybe 2011.
Oh wow.
So
I
yeah,
feel old now.
I know. I was like, holy shit, man.
I feel old talking about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, how
Don't
many
even.
years?
Don't even.
No, I played Legacy varsity for 2007, and then I moved on to Mountain Range. So I was just wondering. I was kind of like thinking, had I seen her on the ice before? and I really hope she didn't just like smoke me. Because I mean, Monarch. Every time I played Monarch, we just got fucking lit up.
Then you probably got smoked, bud.
They were.
Oh, no,
They
I-
had a program there. They had some really talented players.
Oh yeah, I mean, I every time I saw Monarch on the Sketty, I was just like, let's hope my grades just like dip
like-
down a little bit for
So you
this
don't have
one.
to play him.
Yeah.
To miss this week or what?
Oops, sorry, I got an F on my math test.
like,
Looks
here
like
we
I
go.
can't play today. You know.
I was drawing plays.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Who were the superstars? Besides Monarch, Stanley Lake was pretty good, right?
Stanley Lake was always huge.
Oh yeah, they were always
killed.
huge.
Yeah.
They were in a different division, or no, they were in the same division, right?
Yeah,
Like
for
Chas-
for like a couple years, and then Chassa got like really fucked up, and it just kind of switched around after that. But
Right.
how'd you get into refereeing? That's what. Well, what'd you do after? Well, what'd you do after hockey? Because I think you were an Avs girl for quite a bit. I think.
I was an Avs girl for 2 years.
You were one of the
Holy
Avs
shit.
girls in the hockey skates, right?
Right.
Yeah,
we
there we
had,
go.
I think, the inaugural team, because the Ice Girls, I was on their inaugural team, which would have been 20, gosh, now I'm going to age myself again. I feel like it was like 2013 was our first season. And
'Cause-
we had, I want to say 4 girls that played hockey, and the rest were figure skaters. And then our second season was about the same.
So you were one of the originals, right? You were like that
Yeah.
first year when
She's
Like, they
flashing
made
up,
it?
like Snoop Dogg signs and stuff like that, the OG and all that. I'm kidding.
Right? Yeah, I mean, that was a relatively new idea and a new concept. And already, like, teams like the Blackhawks or, like, I think the Florida Panthers had a team before we did. The Ducks, like, all these other pro teams, they had their Ice Girl squad. And even if, I think, I want to say teams like Nashville had girls who didn't go on the ice.
Carolina, too.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah,
just
they had-
in this
They
the
had cheerleader
stairwells.
like people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And the
Right.
Dallas
So it's
Stars.
It was the same idea, but the Avalanche took pride in having a team that could actually skate. So that was like their main point was like, we want a team of girls who can actually skate, whether that's figure skating or being, hockey players or whatever. So we actually, I don't know if you guys ever attended when we did an ice dance of some sort. But we
No,
were
I
able
didn't know
to
they did those.
start
No.
skating abilities.
Cool.
the only thing I remember is you sweeping the fucking snow.
I called myself a mini Zamboni.
There you go.
Yeah.
hell yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to drive the Zamboni, so if I could be a mini Zamboni,
Right?
I'd be there. I'll put on one of those short skirts. I'll freaking be a little Zamboni.
Hey Sam, I'm curious too, like, with your hockey playing history past, before we get into your refereeing, like, what were locker rooms like between maybe teams you'd played on that were all girls versus, you said you played on boy squads too, and maybe that isn't something you experience, all girls versus mixed locker rooms, but if it is, like, I'm curious just your opinion, like your experience on that.
With the boys, I think it was when I was playing, it was like a much less sensitive time. So people didn't really, think twice about it. It's like, this is the locker room, and it's like, okay. And as I, nowadays, people are a lot more, even as an official, people will sometimes say, hey, do you want this girls' locker room or whatever? And my take on it is that I've always liked to be a part of the team. And I never walked into a locker room and saw, like, I'm a girl and you're boys and we're all changing in the locker room. Like, I just saw myself as a teammate. And so there were, you obviously, as a girl, take steps to be like, okay, I'm going to go into the bathroom with my unders.
Right.
And you change into the appropriate amount of clothing in the bathroom. But then I would come back and be with my team. And I do the same as an official. I change out into an appropriate layer of clothing before I come in, and see all the guys sitting around. But the last thing I wanted was to be segregated. I didn't see myself any differently. I was like, we're all a team. You know, these are my brothers. So that was how I grew up, and it kind of progressed into my officiating career, where like I never really asked for. I don't want a girls' locker room. I don't want to be segregated, and I feel bad because people ask sometimes. They're like, "Do you want a girls' locker room?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like they think they offended me, and I'm like, "No, like I'm glad that you asked, because you're showing awareness."
Mm.
But I will respectfully decline because I want to be a part of my team, and the bonding experience in those locker rooms is really important. It's important for the game. It's important for growing up. So if I had missed out on those experiences, I would be, a little more closed-minded. I think it helped me evolve into the person that I am, to be able to share those experiences with those people. So as far as the girls' locker rooms, I mean, that was it was much more like free flowing and everything, but we still have respect for each other. So it's just it would be like a standard locker room without having to excuse myself to go to the bathroom to change into certain layers.
Awesome. Because I'm not asking, I know what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. We all know that. But thank you for your perspective on that. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of girls listening that could take advice from your experience about how to approach that with their own situation.
Especially because maybe if they're uneasy about it or something like that. I think that's a huge. An incredible perspective as well. Yeah. Because I mean, it's for a guy, when it's mixed, I think it's really hard to kind of really break down a barrier, like make up a barrier, like maybe not a barrier, but like a good line.
Oh yeah, but I always
Right.
I always love seeing girls in the locker room because I'm like, damn, if they're here, they must be freaking good, and they're gonna be freaking. I gotta be careful out there. They're gonna be skating circles around me. I better drink one less beer before I get out there
Right.
tonight. Like,
She's coming in and she's gonna fuck me up.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just to me it's part of the like fun experience. Like I go there to hang out with my teammates. I go there to like see my friends and bond with them, and of course, like I've always been, I've tried to be aware and conscientious about other people too. Like if there's a guy that's uncomfortable with me dressing, like I would hope that he would say something. I haven't run into that yet. I haven't run into anybody that was like, "Hey, I'm really uncomfortable with you being in here."
And I don't think you
But
ever will, Sam. I'll be honest with you.
That's what I was gonna say.
so I would just hope that they would say something, because if I don't feel uncomfortable. I walk in and I'm like, I'm just one of you guys, and that's just it's how I grew up, so I don't see it any differently.
Sam, on the opposite end, is there more that us guys can be doing to make you feel more comfortable in the locker room?
Yeah, no, the way that they, even like growing up and then with the officiating community, like just being one of the guys has always been, something that I'm proud of, and I'm happy to be, I like that they're comfortable just being themselves. And as ridiculous as they are sometimes, I'm like, you guys crack me up. Like, it's fine. But I appreciate the candor. I think that they're honestly who they are, and that makes for great bonding, and it makes for a great time, because you don't have to sit there and think like, be hypersensitive. And I know I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking a whole community of women or a whole community of men. So, everybody's take's going to be different. But for me, this is how I grew up. And I grew up just being one of the guys. So for me, it's fun to just sit there and enjoy their company.
I mean, that kind of really speaks to it. It's like I think that's the best way to go about it. Appreciate their candor, and you just you don't want to come in and like have a million people treat you differently just because your gender or anything. I think that speaks for anybody in the locker room. You know, you come in different,
Right.
like a different race or a different, different sexuality. You know, this is what you do to come and get away from all that terrible shit. You know, you want to have fun, you want to sit down and just like go play hockey with your buddies.
Yeah, and I was gonna chime in too, and like from like the beer league perspective, like I'm sure you've seen it, Sam, reffing at the Promenade and stuff. Like there's a lot of teams that have like sometimes they're like 2-3 girls on one team, and I've played with teams that have had girls. And we've never like myself or like the rest of the team like never looked at it as like any different, or it's just we're all just like kind of giving each other shit in the locker room, getting dressed, like not even like thinking of like oh my god that's a girl or whatever, like that's never been like a thing. It's just
Right.
we're just teammates. We're there to have a good time, and I can't say there's ever been any awkward situations or like anything like that at
or
all.
animosity or anything
No,
like that.
nothing,
No,
nothing.
Right. And that's just it, as long as we're all like respectful of each other, to some extent, but it's always been about the team. It's always been about like just coming in and bonding and just never looking at myself any differently. So, and
Oh.
I've had situations where I was forced to be segregated, basically, where they were like, "This is the women's locker room," and I was like, "Yeah, no, thank you." And then they would be like, "No, you have to dress in here because of the men. There's some men that might be uncomfortable." And I was like, "Well, like, okay, like," and it's just something I would accept because I wasn't gonna sit there and argue it. But at the same time, dressing by myself in a
Makes
locker
you
room
I would
is
think
like
makes you feel
such an
uncomfortable.
isolating thing, and I just hated it. I was like, I feel like I'm not a part of the team. I feel like I'm not a part of anything that's going on. And you try to understand. You really have to start seeing it from the other perspective and be like, okay, obviously maybe somebody said something and they're uncomfortable, and I have to respect that. But it is like an isolating moment where like, okay, this is weird sitting by myself, and so.
Yeah, and I mean, not to go into that example specifically, but it's like you'd want to know what about it made them uncomfortable, because it's like maybe I can address that and be like, your concerns are
Exactly.
no longer there, and now I'm able to dress in the locker room, and you're no longer worried, you know.
Right. Like, is there something more that I could have done so that I can at least like put my skates on in the same room with you guys?
Yeah,
Like,
but I
Exactly.
think besides what you could have done, it's like, the person that was told that information needs to ask themselves, is there something more I can do as a person of authority here to figure this out? Because I respect that you're trying to do the right thing, but also it needs to come from leadership and not end up back on you always. And so good for you for trying to figure it out, but it's got to start with everybody,
Oh, absolutely. I mean that
right.
couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you got to think this guy's sitting in a room full of his buddies anyway. You really gonna be that comfortable with a gal coming in here and just trying to be one of the guys too? Be a part of a team that on paper I'm a part of, but apparently you don't want me to
Right.
like be around or something for what particular reason here. It's almost it's like good on you for taking the ultimate high road there, because
Yeah.
there's those kind of times, a lot of people will try to say, all right, well, I'm fucking done with this, or maybe try to start a bit of commotion about it. But I mean, it's really not
Yeah.
like the fact that your head was there was incredible. That like that guy, maybe not so much clearly, but it's commendable that I mean you see the bigger picture here.
My favorite part is every now and then I've seen it where you'll like go to like a drop-in, and there's those couple guys, like everyone pitches in their $10 whatever to play for the ice time, and there's every now and then there's a couple girls that pop up, and there's I've seen guys like, I'm going on the other team. I'm not gonna play with the girl. or with the
those
girls.
knuckleheads or
break.
what-
Yeah.
yeah.
But then the girls get on the ice and they fucking skate circles around
easily.
them.
Dude,
Oh
they
man,
skate figure eights around them, dude.
that is like my absolute
Very
favorite, man.
talented girls out there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, that's awesome. So like like we've mentioned that you're, you have a career in officiating. Can you break that down for us? Can you explain us like how that all started?
Yeah, I mean, I started officiating when I was 12, and
Holy shit.
so I
Pardon my
started at
French.
the I started at the YMCA. There were tons of youth games there, so I actually got recruited by a couple officials who I'm actually still very close with them and their family. And it was like a father-daughter duo, and they used to come and skate all of my games. And one day, my mom was talking to them because I love my mom. She's great. She coached like a lot of my teams growing up, and she ended up being a coach for Fairview High School boys team actually. So she was a really good coach, and she was talking to them one day, and she's like, "Oh, like how do you get into this? Do you think my daughter could do it?" And they were like, "Absolutely." So they got me started. And that's where I began, was just reffing at the YMCA on weekends. And as a 12-year-old kid, you're not going to get a $200 paycheck anywhere else.
Oh no way, no
So
way.
this is a good deal. I'm making bank and skating around and um, so yeah, that's where it kind of started. And so, gosh, how old am I now? Old. I so now on my like 15th or 16th season. When I was about 14, I almost quit. And, this was something I was, I'll maybe touch on, but abusive officials is a huge problem. And we had any game I would work, it would be like a squirt game, and I would be getting screamed at. And 14-year-old me is like, I don't know how to handle this. What do you say to a 48-year-old man yelling at you when you're 14?
Yeah.
So I was
Unf-
like, and I was so close to quitting. I told my mom I didn't want to sign up again. I'm like, I'm not skating anymore. Like I'm done with people yelling at me, and I'm done with like, I feel terrible every time I get off the ice. Even though you're going out there and you're doing your best, like you might be a terrible official because you're new, but you're like still going out there and trying to do what you can. And so yeah, my mom convinced me. She was like, "Where else are you gonna make this kind of money?" And she was like, "This is a really good opportunity." And my mom saw it for what it was. For me, I was like very tunnel visioned. I was like, I only see what I'm doing right now, but my mom saw what was possible, and some of the things that I actually did end up accomplishing, probably because of her. And so I was like, I kept with it at that point. When right before I enrolled in my freshman year and I went to St. Thomas my freshman year in Minnesota. And my plan was, because I was still playing at that time, my plan was to try to walk onto that.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll go out there. I'll go to Minnesota. I'll play D3. It'll be great. I went to an officiating camp the summer before my freshman year, and just like fell in love with it. And I was like, I love officiating. Like officiating is so much fun. And I got really competitive about it. And I was like, this is great. Like I have so much I can do with this.
What do you wait? What do you mean competitive about it?
Yeah. So like when I feel like when I started officiating, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a Bantam game here. I'm just going to do this like Pee-wee game here. And you just kind of skate games for fun. And then there comes a point where you're like, if I can start taking this profession seriously, I can go work really good games, and I can start working in leagues that I've only dreamt of.
Nice.
And leagues also that I would have never played in some of the leagues that I've reffed. And so I was like, I was not that caliber of player, but I am that caliber of referee. So it was once and going to this camp, um, when I was 18, I realized what was out there and what was possible. And so I was like, man, this could be really cool. If I just start getting more serious about it, if I start taking my games more seriously and trying to really develop myself as an official.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing stuff more seriously, and I was called by my NCAA supervisor. I think I was almost 19 years old, so I was like barely old enough. And they called and they said, "Do you want to ref in the NCAA?" And I was like, "Yes."
Oh
Like,
my
this
gosh.
would be fabulous. So I started reffing for the D3 teams around the area in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
What kind of teams were you reffing for? Like which teams?
There's a lot of teams in the River Falls was one of them. I worked Eau Claire's games quite a bit. I would work Hamlin University. I didn't work University of St. Thomas until I wasn't attending that school anymore.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bias maybe.
They didn't want to cross that path, so they're like, all right, we'll wait on that. But yeah, because there were 2 Division III leagues in that area. It was the NCHA and the MIAC, and a lot of really great D3 hockey in that area.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was my transition, and I remember calling my parents and telling them I'm not going to tryouts. I'm not going to tryouts for hockey. And they're like, "Wait, what?" So they were very shocked that I chose to officiate over playing, because I basically took the opportunity away from myself to go and play. You're only so young and college age and college eligible for so long, and I chose ref over playing. So, but I'm grateful for it. I'm so happy that I took that path, because that's what I was passionate about. It sounds really weird because most people wouldn't take reffing over playing, I don't think. But
Well, yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. Is like, why do you think you chose refereeing over playing?
It was a combination of things. I think I never really trained to be a player. I was just naturally all right at it, and I didn't do off-ice workouts. I didn't. Of course, I loved it. Like, I loved playing, but I actually trained to be a referee, and I was, I wanted to read my rule book. I wanted to go do off-ice drills. I wanted to be better, and it was kind of recognizing that passion and just running with it and be like, yeah, most people don't take this path, but if it's what I'm passionate about, then I should take it. So it was that, and when I went to this camp, it kind of occurred to me that I could travel. They said, if you pursue this and you really love to do it and it's something you want to do, you can work games in other countries. You can work games in other cities. We will fly you to tournaments, and you can work all these different games, and you can have the best seat in the house. And I was like,
Yeah, seriously,
yeah.
right on the ice. I mean, come on.
I was like, yeah. I mean, it was like the opportunity to be a part of the game at certain levels that I would have never been able to play. That was very enticing to me. And it just became a passion of mine. Like, I wanted to be a better referee. I dreamt about it. I, wrote about it. I thought about it all the time. And I was like, how can I get to the next level? And so it drove me, it was something that I really loved to do. And so I went with it.
That's great.
That's so awesome.
To find something like a passion in something that is not really appreciated.
Well, nobody when they're little kids playing knee hockey, I'm gonna be Wes McCauley tonight,
Oh God, you really went with a Wes McCauley.
Well, of course, I mean, but what I'm saying is,
sir.
From what I'm saying is to just find such a passion in such a niche part of the sport
that's what I'm saying.
Is gigantic,
it's huge. It's great.
Wait, why am I up late doing these off-ice drills? Okay, wait, I must I don't need to know the answer. I just am here, and that says something, right?
Yeah. You showed the dedication to the sport in a different way, and that's just, I just never, I never knew it took that
Right.
much to get to an actual, like,
Well, you've got my respect, Sam. If you're ever
Right.
officiating one of my games, I'm going to go a
Thank
little
you.
easier on you with the verbal abuse, that's for sure.
I'm just going to pack up my bags and go home.
Hey Sam, did you also had a chance to ref some world championships, right?
The which championships?
Worlds, like coming from USA Hockey, like what kind of
Yeah.
tournaments did you get in? Like if I'm not mistaken,
I've been out of the country 4 times to work international events. And they were all very eye-opening experiences, just incredible. Like I would be training for months to get ready for these worlds, and we have a lot of different divisions. So I haven't yet worked the top division that I want to, but that's something I work towards. And all these other divisions are equally competitive. People from these countries are crazy about their hockey teams, and they are passionate about this game. And it's so cool because some of us will get to these tournaments and nobody speaks the same language, but you all
Wow.
share that passion, and it's very cool because it's just like this game where no word can be said, but people can be smiling and just loving, being in the moment with each other.
so hockey
So-
is the language.
It's the
Yeah, pretty
universal
much.
love language. I'm kidding.
Sam, so when you say train for months, are you like reading over the rule book and making sure Rule 51C is followed to the letter? Or like, can you describe to me what you mean there by like training for months for this tournament besides just maybe
Yeah.
the rule changes?
So fundamentally, yes, like you have to know your rule book, and it doesn't come with just like reading it over and over again, but it also comes with experience. So a lot of what I take into my games is from what I've already learned, and trying to be better the next time. So you read your rule book, you understand your rules. Some tournaments have different rules, so you want to know that our overtime procedure is the same as this other tournament. Are we skating with the same number of players in this tournament as this tournament?
Icing procedures and such.
It's like all the very like fundamental stuff that you just have to pay attention to the details. So there's that aspect of it, and then there's the physical aspect of it because you're skating the entire game.
Right.
And I think sometimes people don't realize how much cardio goes into this position.
Oh God, how could
But
it
it's
not?
really like you skate the entire game. So if you're
Yeah,
like,
there's
for
no
me,
line changes for referees, eh?
yeah, you don't get to like just take a break, So it's like, for me, probably my hardest tournament was the U18 Worlds that I did in the Czech Republic. And that was the last year that they did a 3-man system, or 3 official system. And so you would have 2 linesmen and 1 referee. And that referee, which is the position I normally assume, is just skating up and down. And these girls were quick. They were really fast because they're the best national players of their team. Like, they're the best players in their national team.
Yeah, you just elevated
So-
the skill level substantially.
Right. So these plays go very quickly, and if you're just one referee skating end to end with these girls, it's like, and women's hockey, there's no checking. So
Yep.
in some ways, this game is a marathon because there's not that interruption.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just like,
You're
So
running,
I
running,
spent-
run.
Yeah.
you're just going. And so it's very like prior to those tournaments, you get your assignment, and even if you don't have an assignment, you still try to stay in shape throughout the year just in case.
Oh no, I can imagine. Sorry.
Right. Like what happens if somebody can't make it and all of a sudden you got to go, like you have to be ready for
Truth.
so I try to stay in constant shape just not only for my day job, but like for my, hockey career. And, uh, but yeah, there's a lot of cardio that goes into that. And I would do a lot of sprint intervals because that's, you would sprint for, say, 2 minutes, and then you get a 15-second, 20-second rest, and then you're sprinting it.
It's like, yeah, that was icing. I'm calling icing. I need
Yeah.
a break.
Nice line change.
Please give me a fucking break for just a second.
I'm just gonna go assess this penalty real quick.
Yeah,
It's like,
just
do you guys really need to talk about this as long as I do, or do you just want to suck wind with me for a little bit?
yeah, so like, and, can you tell me? Can you tell us? I mean, some of the big tournaments you've been into. I mean, obviously, the Women's Worlds in Czech Republic. I mean, that's huge.
So my first tournament ever was actually to China.
Whoa.
To Beijing, and it was my first time ever out of the country. I'd never been, anywhere, and so when they were like, "You're going to Beijing," I'm like, "What?" That's like the opposite side of the world. And it was definitely a culture shock in a way. I tried to prepare as best I could. They always tell you, when you're getting ready for these tournaments, try to brush up on maybe some history or some words, like learn how to say thank you so that you can be polite to the people that live there. And so you try to just, blend in as best you can. But I was like, oh my gosh, China. It was a 16-hour flight. And I got there, and it was just they were so welcoming. Like everything about that tournament was great. They were and every tournament I've really been to, you always get treated really well. Like they want to take care of you. The IHF puts on these great tournaments, and they have just wonderful people run them. And so it's always such a nice experience. And it's just, let's see, Beijing happened, and then I went to Norway. Was my second tournament.
Jättebra.
That's dope.
Yeah, Norway was beautiful, and that was, I took a train from the airport to the city I was staying in that was in the mountains, and it's got to be one of the most beautiful countries out there out of the 4 countries I've been to. I think it's got to be top notch.
Of course it is. It's Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the extra cool thing, you guys will really appreciate this, but every time we walked to the downtown of this town, it was Lillehammer. There
yes.
They had the Olympics there several years ago.
94?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so they're doing the Youth Olympic Games. So they still had the village and everything, and it's a unique tournament because it's not just hockey. It was bobsled and figure skating and all these other events were going on. But every time we walked to the town, there was this little ice rink. And any time you would walk by this ice rink, there would be little kids playing hockey on it, or learning to skate and just playing pond hockey. And I'm like, this is the life.
See, what I love about these stories is you're there on a professional situation, but you're being exposed to different cultures and experiences along the way, which is what we should all want out of our careers in some respects.
It's incredibly priceless.
Yeah.
I mean, just to be able to be in these spots. I mean, especially for China being the first time out of the country. I went to Juarez, Mexico the first time I ever left the country. But I mean, China, that's gigantic. And I mean, obviously, you know,
it was scary too, because they just, they were like, when you land, you're going to have to go out into the baggage claim area, and then there should be somebody holding a sign. And I'm like, okay. So I get out there, and it's just this guy holding a sign that says my name on it. And I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to go with you.
Oh, God.
So I'm in the middle of China, and some dude holding a sign, and then he brings me a car, and it's this minivan, you know, and I'm like, Am I supposed to be here?
Well, I hope you're my person.
Did it say free candy on it?
Oh my!
How would you know, though? How would you know? It's all Chinese calligraphy. How would you know?
Okay, I guess I'll get
Free
on.
candy and Pokemon Go.
So, I mean, you got China, you got Norway. Any more like gigantic, like treks across this earth?
Yeah, I mean, with my other 2 tournaments that I've been on were in the Czech Republic and one in Italy.
Oh yeah, Czech. That's right.
I mean, Prague, so I went to Prague an additional day or whatever, and it was just like, it's an unbelievable city. But I mean, these people are very, I ended up, one of my friends officiates in the Czech Republic in their professional. So I met up with him at some point after the tournament, and I went to one of their games. And I will tell you, these people are so excited
that's
to be
awesome.
at these games. Like, they're very loud. They all have drums. Like, they scream, they yell, and it's just
That's
like,
something I want to
if you did,
experience so
I feel
bad.
like,
So cool.
yeah, I feel like if you did that here, you'd get kicked out.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
person, you need to leave. You know.
You're creating
brought
too
the
much of a
crazy?
ruckus.
Yeah.
You're creating too much of a ruckus, sir. I think we're gonna have to ask you to leave. Dude, it's a fucking hockey game.
Who
No-
brought out
Yeah.
the whole entire drum area? Get out
Oh
of
my
here.
They're so loud. They're very loud. They're very excited. And I'm like, this is an atmosphere. Like, this is sweet.
I had. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just jealous of, like, some of the European games I've been to where I'm like, wow, really, you're just killing it. Like,
Yeah. Well,
atmosphere completely different.
Well, that's I've had the like incredible pleasure of being in Milan Hajduk's presence a couple times, and I asked him about like playing back in Czech and how it's like kind of different from the NHL and stuff, and he said, yeah, it's loud. You walk into the building and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
you've
It's
got
definitely a new level.
yeah, you've got like 18,000 people screaming their faces off, and I like while he was telling me this, it was just probably like the greatest thing that I've ever seen. I mean, like, I'd much rather having like 10,000 rabid hockey fans rather than, whatever we've got here that like half the, like, maybe 1/3 of the people just don't even care that they're there.
Now you're making me think about this from a different angle where, like, was it Riley Smith that went on the record the other week where he was like, well,
Oh yeah, somebody
I
asked
played
him.
in Florida for a while
Yeah.
where I wasn't used to fans, so this whole bubble thing ain't gonna be
Yeah,
no big deal.
somebody asked him, like, is it going to be weird that you're going to be playing in front of no fans?
So,
He's like,
That was
Maybe-
at the
well, I
beginning
play
of
in
COVID.
Florida.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's like maybe it's like this, but they don't let the European players say this about European hockey because it's not so good for the NHL in comparison. But I wonder if they're like, so are you worried about playing under the pressure of the playoffs? And you just get some Milan Hajduk guy be like, dude, you have no idea. I've been in Europe for years. You guys don't even know the kind of stuff
you
I've
don't
been
even
pu-
know
Yeah.
loud.
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing if some guy said that and then all of a sudden we were checking out like European hockey and it's like, oh my God, look, there's flares.
All
Good
right.
God, there's flares.
Well, I just want to put this in real quick because, I have a really good buddy, Peter, that lives in Norrköping, Sweden. And he's sent me pictures of like him going out to Sweden, like SHL games, and it's just it's a
Nice.
fucking ruckus. Like,
Nice.
I mean, I sent him a video of like the first game of the Avs playoff game, and he's
Oh
like,
yeah, that I recorded.
yeah,
and
that's
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool, but I mean, that's like how it is every
Yeah,
game.
Sam and I are like, oh no, Chicago's anthem can't be missed, and like all our Swedish listeners are like, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
You-
Right.
It's like, you don't know loud. You don't know loud.
Yeah. They're on a. It was like I would go to any game here anytime. Like, with this kind of energy, I'll take it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because let's be honest. When the arena is just rocking off its hinges, it just like triggers the endorphins in your body. Like, oh yeah, we
Okay,
gotta go.
you don't have to worry about like what other people think because nobody, like everyone's there just to like cheer really loudly and be a part of the game. So you're not concerned about like, oh, I don't want to be too loud and get kicked out or, have these people looking at me sideways.
I say fuck it. You get kicked out. You had a good time.
Uh,
You'll remember
But there
it
is a lot
later.
of truth to that because I'm always like, oh, they picked the host city and it's gonna be the World Juniors in Canada split between Montreal and Toronto. That's gonna be rowdy, and I bet when it's announced for Helsinki or other places, they're like, yeah,
Oh,
like,
it's-
we're
it's-
gonna run house. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, I bet like just talk to Keats, man. He was just stoked that like half of the IIHF 2021 championships were gonna be in Riga this year.
Hell yeah, dude.
And he's not even going to be able to see it, and he's fucking
Native
stoked
land.
about it,
Who knows, man? I might get myself a ticket to the homeland.
Take me with you, please.
as long
I want to get off of this godforsaken
I
fucking
mean,
rock.
if for no other reason, priority seating, right?
as long
For
as,
real, dude. You got the...
right? As long as the corona doesn't ruin it, I'd love to. That'd be a cool trip.
Priority seating,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
Oh, dude, let's do it. I'm down. All right. So enough about us. More about you, Sam.
I'm talking your guys' ears off now.
Oh, hey, that's what we want. That's what we love. I mean, hugest thing. Like, you spoke about, like abuse of the referee and stuff like that. Like, how does that like just how's that on a daily basis? Like a game by game basis. I mean, it's got to be just ridiculous because if I know anything, I've given so many refs so much shit.
And there's when you get into it, that there's going to be a certain amount of it. There's just no getting around it. It's part of what we do. But there's this statistic that we in USA Hockey, we lose about 30% of our registered officials every year. And
Wow.
losing 30% of people, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Like it really, and compared to how many games there are, we have a shortage. And sometimes it's really hard to get games filled. Even, you think about men's league and stuff, like sometimes it's hard to get those filled or to get all the youth games and high school, once like February rolls around and everybody's playing. It's very hard to meet that number of games. And at some point, if we can't recruit enough people, there won't be enough for these games. And we've got youth parents, and the same thing happened to me when I was young, and I told you guys about being yelled at by parents when I was like 14. And like,
Yeah.
how do you cope with that? If I didn't have my mom there and a couple supervisors who said, nope, stick with it. Once you get through this, it's going to be worth it. If I didn't have that kind of support, I would have been long gone and I would have never accomplished anything that I ended up doing. So, I've been trying to be more part of our mentor programs and stuff that we have set in place for newer officials. But it is a daily battle, and there are times where I will show up at a rink and just watch young officials and try to give them some, advice, encouragement, whatever. But almost guaranteed every set of stands I sit in for a youth game, I'm going to hear something inappropriate from the parent section.
Clearly.
And
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that this ref is like 13 years old, right? Like, this is like a child you're yelling at.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't trigger for people sometimes. But even adults, that go in later on and want to give it a shot, it's sad because they want to do it because they love the game. No, like nobody's showing up to the rink like, I'm going to the NHL. That's why I'm here. Thing,
Right.
Like,
Oh, totally.
they're here because they have a passion for the game and they want to be in the best seat in the house and they want to participate and have fun. And it's just hard sometimes when you can't. There are certain games and certain places where it's gonna be heated. It's gonna be emotional. But like at a Squirt B game on a Sunday morning is really like not the place. um,
Yeah.
so I just, it's something we've really been trying to address, and we try to communicate that in our seminars. We tell them, here's what you're going to expect a little bit of, but also we try to enforce the zero tolerance, and it just doesn't go well. These rinks are supposed to have zero tolerance in place, but it's like, who's enforcing that?
True.
I've addressed the stands only a number of times in my career, and it's never like, it's always an uphill battle for the most part,
Right.
because you're one official yelling at a group of people, and it's just not the best way to deal with it. But who else is supposed to enforce that zero tolerance? And we've been trying to report this person here, and then it's to be handled through this, and then this, and it's just like so many loops make it really hard.
It's almost like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really.
Yeah, like, okay, so I just won't say anything. I'll try to report it the right way, but sometimes, you wonder if it's effective, and you try to do it the right way. But I can't save all these new officials, and that's what's hard too, is because I know what they're up against, and I try to, like, okay, this is what's going to happen. But it's like, once they're in it, they're like, oh, this is miserable. Like, I don't want to do this at all.
Oh, for sure.
I can't blame them for that. Like, I felt the same way when I started. But it was just about having that support to get you through it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to give to them now. But it's also a changing time, like, you look at, I don't know if it's like a generational thing or a societal thing, but I feel like there's some aspect of respect in there, where, like, some sports will actually, like rugby, they are so respectful of their officials in rugby, and it's been an established thing since, like, before time. I don't know when rugby started, but they're very respectful, and whatever the official says goes. And hockey just doesn't have that. We have a different kind of mentality, I think, in some ways. But for the most part, people are good. I think that for the most part, players are good, coaches are good, and there's just once in a while you deal with that problem.
Yeah, and I almost kind of think that you get more of that problem with those parents that think their kid's going to be the next Crosby or Ovechkin, where they just fly off the handle for zero reason. So that's incredible. I think we all learned a little bit today. When you boys say?
Oh yeah. No, we learned a lot about the refereeing aspect and just where you came up from as a youngin' up to your, we'll just say, adult age. We're not going to name any numbers. So,
well, nobody likes to actually say their actual age. I know I don't. But Sam, I just gotta say this was such a fun episode, and thank you so very much for being on. And I hope that you had a lot of fun too.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing your perspective, Sam. It was wonderful to hear from you today.
Thank you for inviting me. I love talking to you guys. Hopefully, some of it was eye-opening.
I think all three of us we definitely say it was truly eye-opening.
There's four of us.
Well, oh wow.
well, there we go. No, well, and if you,
I'm so damn used to saying all three of us. I'm like, all right, so. This is it's new for all of us. Okay.
You need another beer. You're not seeing double.
Mix in a water, bud.
No.
Mix in a fucking water.
But no, Sam. If I ever make that trek up to Chicago, I will definitely like to hit up a game with you and my cousin.
Oh,
and all
absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Because I want to knock off every one of those like stadiums throughout the whole entire NHL, all 32 of them. So.
Maybe we can bring some snare drums or something and make it all European.
Oh hell yeah! Just get real loud.
I
That's
don't
what's
give a
up.
fuck.
Well, hopefully we you could track down because we do have an on the bench with Beeks banner now that we want to get everyone that we have on to sign it. So
Oh, that's a
eventually,
cool idea.
so eventually we're gonna need to get you in front of the bench, get you on the actual bench to sign our little banner. But we will have some new stickers coming out your way because we like to give everybody stickers. And I got to say thanks to Dan Williams and My Beer Nation for getting those as always. That crafty little guy. But damn it, Sam, it was great hanging out with you.
Thank you, guys.
And also,
I'd
don't. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
Go for it.
But yeah, don't forget to check us out on YouTube and what was it, Vimeo?
Vimeo.
Vimeo. I don't know.
Emo.
It's
Yeah.
something. I don't know what these new fandangled
Those
apps
talk
are.
ticks.
No, but
Yeah,
no, guys.
those talk ticks.
We got some new stuff coming out. We have a YouTube channel right now, so if everyone could please subscribe, that would mean the world to us. And we're gonna be putting all our content out there. Jerseys on the Bench is gonna be on YouTube now, as well as all of our episodes. Dan is working really hard to get episode 1 through all the way up to 17 on those. On YouTube, so please be patient, but we'll have them on there. And like I said, yeah, please subscribe. That will help us a lot. And yeah,
Stay tuned, I guess, would be the
I was-
appropriate word there.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jerseys on the Bench videos are going up. All these episodes will be up by next week. I'm stating it and hold me to it.
I'm gonna
type
hold you to it.
situation.
I'm gonna hold you right to it.
And some other series we got planned up there, but it'll also be nice to be able to see what jerseys we're wearing every week when we're recording these podcast episodes and see what beers we're enjoying while we're talking to you guys.
See what
and
everybody,
girls.
yeah, girls. And,
See where everybody's sneaking off to when you can't hear
yeah,
'em.
exactly. So
The
you can get a
bathroom we
little
use.
inside
Yeah.
perspective. And if I could be so bold as to say that I'm working on a way where you could feel like you're on the bench with Beeks, that would be really cool too. So stay tuned. you know?
So and all right, so I just want to thank all the listeners. I want to thank you boys for being with me, and I want to send a special thanks to Sam Hiller for being with us today. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Thank
Appreciate
you, guys.
We'll catch you next week on the bench. Have a good one. Vi hörs.